presentation of results. Particularly, I'm going to demonstrate how to write a report or a research paper. Actually, if you remember in the very first class, I said that this entire classroom exercises must result in a paper which can be sent for either it could be presented in a conference or it should be published in a journal form. Now, because of the limitations that we have today, we are not able to do this because that is the fourth assignment actually. But owing to the constraints, we are not going ahead with that. So what we will do, we will only learn how to interpret one particular table. That is going to be your last assignment. So this is the last session on Unit 5, presentation of results. I hope you are remembering and recollecting all the sequences and the series. So presentation of results is the last step, that is the seventh step in the research process and also the last unit in the syllabus. And the third part is a demonstration of the presentation of results. So let's continue with how to write chapters in a thesis, a dissertation, or a project report, or how to write a paper. I think that all these titles could be apt for this presentation. So now what we will do before we proceed with how to write the thesis, I want you to learn how to do the fourth assignment. So what are you supposed to do? Every team will be given a zip file containing 5 to 6 cross tabulations with chi-squares already calculated. So you don't have to worry about all of them. So each member in the team has to choose one table and interpret it. And who is going to do it? Every member. Every student has to do this assignment. And you have to mention your name on the assignment. I'm going to show you the template. So you have to mention your name, your roll number, your team number, your class section name. You are supposed to interpret the table. It's hardly a half an hour assignment, so you can very easily do it in this lockdown. Write 1 to 2 page note on each of these tables. So your assignment will be for about maximum 2 pages. That's it. So half an hour, 2 pages is definitely easy, and most of it is already there in the tabular form. So table itself will take half page. So you're hardly writing 1 page. That's it. So in this, what are you supposed to do? You have to introduce the table, you have to interpret the table, then you have to infer from the interpretation. Three things are should be very clearly presented. Introduce the table, interpret the table and that statistical test, then infer, that means extract what is hidden in those numbers, what is hidden in the percentages, what is hidden in the chi-square or any statistical test. Now, team leads, every team leader has to distribute the tables to each of the member. In case if any problem is there, you must call me. There is no other way. There cannot be any excuse. You cannot say, I thought, because most of the students would say that, I thought I'm supposed to do like this. I thought it is not meant for me. So when you say that I thought, you should have clarified your thought. Because it's time passes, it doesn't wait for anybody. So if you have a thought, clarify your thought. But after that, everything is said and done, you cannot say that I thought the time is over, the assignment is over. So some students would lose marks, and two team leads are responsible for that. So you have to ensure that every member in the team is given that table. That's what you have to distribute to them. Then after their completion, you have to collect their files, and they must be seen in complete in all respects. Otherwise, you can ignore it. That's it. You have to collect all the files. If you have 5 members, 5 files, MS Word files. Zip them before sending it to me. If you send them in loose files, I'm going to reject that assignment, because 100 plus files, 100 plus emails if I receive, you can understand I'll definitely go mad. So therefore, I'm expecting from each team one zip file, as I am sending that zip file. So you have to give proper name to the file, your team name, your section name, and the date on which you are submitting this file. So learn to put timestamps on the files and perfect details about the identity of your teams in the zip files, because when I'm downloading, I put all of them in a folder, I will not remember, I would not be identifying whose file is it. So it's be very irritating, honestly, I'm telling you, and therefore demotivating to correct those assignments. So please ensure that it's perfect in all respects. Now I'm giving some tips here how to do this assignment. First of all, you have to give a brief introduction to the table under a side heading. Side headings are already there in that assignment which I'm sending you. I'm also sending you with the table inside the assignment. So there will be a side heading, there will be a table. What are you supposed to do? Write an introduction to the table under the side heading. Then give table number and table title. Then interpret the table, which means explain the contents of the table, all the percentages. Then interpret the statistical test. Fourth point, after the interpretation, the last paragraph could be last but one paragraph could be draw the inference from the interpretation. What do you understand from that interpretation? What is so clearly emerging from your interpretation in one point, in one or 2 points? Draw the inference which is happening on your mind. If you are reading that interpretation, what is happening on your mind? What is that your final understanding from that interpretation? That's called the inference. Draw that. Then conclude it. So you say finally what is that you have understood from this table? That's called conclusion. So note that it's a 5 mark assignment. If all these five things are clearly done, you will get 5 full marks. If any one of this is missing, you would lose 1 mark per missing element. So I'm going to give you some more tips now. Now, this is very important page. You will never find this anywhere on internet. You will never find this anywhere in the books. How to interpret the percentages. So I have mentioned here some ranges in case if in a table, if you find these kind of numbers, how to mention them in written form. Let's say for example, in a cell, if you have percentage less than 20, you say that you have to write the smaller percentage of people said like this, like that. Then if the range is between 20 and 24, if any percentage falls between 20 and 24 in a cell, you say that nearly one-fourth of them said. If it is 25%, say one-fourth of them exactly. If it is 25 to 29%, you say a little over one-fourth of them. In case if the percentages are between 30 and 32, you say nearly one-third of them. And if it is 33, you say one-third of them. If it is between 33 to 39, say a little over one-third of them. If it is 40 to 49, a large number of them or nearly half of them. If it is exactly 50%, say half of them said like this. If it is between 51 to 70, say a majority of them said. 70 to 79, a large majority of them said. 95 to 99, say almost all of them. If it is 100 of them, 100% said. 100% in a cell, you would say all of them said. I think that's the way you have to interpret your fourth assignment. So I'll just give you one example. So what we'll do, we'll just open up one X tab, one cross tab. I hope I have some of them. Okay, I'll try with this one. Not this one, I'll try some other one. So now I'm going to show you a sample demo of a cross tab. This is from one of my project reports of my college days. So now how to introduce the table. Since there is already a side heading, so what you could do, make it bolder. That's it. And now give an introduction. So this is how I started. Age is an important independent variable which influences quite many of the perceptions, opinions, and attitudes of the people. In this study, it was hypothesized that there is no association between age of the participants and their perceived empowerment. My study was on empowerment, employee empowerment. So data in this regard are cross-tabulated and presented in the following table. Now, table number, you can see how clearly I'm mentioning. This table is presented in chapter 3 of my project report. That's why it is table number 3.3. That means this is the third table from third chapter. So if you have more tables in previous chapters, they would go with 2 point so, 1 point so, 4 point so, and so. So most of the tables are presented in results chapter. Of course, one or two tables could also go into methodology chapter because there you would mention sampling table, sampling size table, or any tables relating to demographics, any tables relating to profiles, any tables relating to the universe, any tables relating to your questionnaire, scale details. Though there also you would mention the table numbers. But here, since this is the third table from the third chapter, this is how the number is given. So table 3.3, then you see that age and pursued empowerment. Table number and table title must be in capitals always, whereas side heading should always be in sentence form. These are all the standard writing rules. I don't think there's any book which will explain you, particularly in research, but what you could do, there's an exclusive book called Thesis and Assignments Writing by an author named Anderson, published by Wiley Publications. So that's the book. It's a very small book, 100 plus pages book. In that book, you will find all these rules. So if you're interested, you can buy that book from internet. So what we'll do now, very slowly we will move. Now, in this study, it was hypothesized that there is no association between age of the participants and their perceived empowerment. Data in this regard are cross-tabulated and presented in the following table. So in this table, we are showing the cross-tabulation of age and perceived empowerment. Now you can see how carefully we lay out the table. Serial number, age groups, second column. Some students forget about serial number, so some marks they lose here. So this is what we call perfection. You're going unto perfection, so learn to put things in perfect order. So serial number, age group, this is your independent variable because in cross tabulation, independent variable will always be presented row wise. This is the row. So age group, then you see perceived empowerment in levels, less empowered, moderately empowered, more empowered. And then the last one is the total. Now, when you're interpreting a cross tabulation, remember that it is always done row wise, universally. Some students will interpret like this, that is wrong. You always have to say, among the age group, how many are like this? How many are empowered? Among the age group, how many are empowered? Among this age group, how many are empowered? So you can write three paragraphs actually. For example, among age group of 20 to 25 years, you see here, always remember the larger percentage. Look at the larger percentage. Always in statistics, look at the larger numbers, bigger numbers. Then go to the next bigger number, then last number. That's the standard rule. So among 20 and 25 years of age group respondents, a majority, because more than 50 means majority in the previous slide I have shown you. A majority of the respondents perceived more. In the brackets, you have to mention 51.3%, followed by nearly one third. If you remember that slide, I have explained you interpretation of percentages. Nearly one third perceived moderately empowered. Full stop. The remaining, in the brackets, you can say 17.9. The remaining perceived less. Now that's it. You can go to second paragraph. Among those who are in the age group of 26 and 30 years, a majority of them perceived moderately empowered, followed by a little over one fourth of them, followed by a little over one fourth of them perceived less empowered. Full stop. The remaining perceived more empowered. That's it, the second paragraph. Third paragraph. Among those who are above 31 years of age, a large number of them, remember the percentages which I have mentioned in the previous slide? A large number of them perceived more empowered, followed by a little over one third of them perceived moderately empowered, full stop. The remaining of them, or you can even say nearly one fourth of them, perceived less empowered, full stop. That's it, three paragraphs. Now, your fourth paragraph is on the chi-square interpretation. You have to explain the calculated chi-square value, the degrees of freedom, and then the probability. And then what does it mean? Are you accepting the null hypothesis or rejecting the null hypothesis? For example, if you say here the hypothesis there is no association, whereas this value says there is association, so you're rejecting the null hypothesis. Okay, let's go to the interpretation now. Table 3.3 shows that among those participants who are in the age group of 20 to 25, so in the age group of 20 to 25 years, a majority of them perceived that they are more empowered than others, whereas the trend is reversed in case of those who are in the age between 26 and 30 years. However, among those who are above 31 years of age, a large number of them feel more empowered than others. So I made it more simplified in my project. So, but what you could do is, I'll break it here, then explain more elaborately. So, a majority of them perceived that they are more empowered than others. I'll split it here. Then others empowered, followed by nearly one third of them are moderately empowered, RATE, empowered, 30.8%. The remaining is less empowered, brackets 17.9%, close. Now, among, I'll take it from the previous slide. Among those who are in between 26 and 30 years of age, I'm splitting it. A majority is moderately empowered, 65.9%, followed by a little over one fourth, 27.5%, felt less empowered. The remaining of them is more empowered, 6.6%. Now I'm going to the last one. Among those who are above 31 years of age, a large number of them feel more empowered. So I just made it truncated here than others, but I'm elaborating. So that's another style actually. So I'm showing you the first style because these are all the beginners. So it's better to learn the first style. So empowered, followed by a little over one third is moderately slightly empowered. So 35.5%. The remaining is less empowered, 22.6%. So that's how I finish my interpretation. It's so easy, hardly have half an hour, you can finish off. Probably if you're doing it for the first time, it might take 10-15 more minutes, doesn't matter. You forget about some uh, personal works, concentrate on this because this is the life. Now I'm going to the last interpretation, the fourth component of interpretation about the statistical test. The calculated chi-square test, the calculated chi-square test result at 4 degrees of freedom and at 0.000 level of significance. I'll put a comma here. Reveals that the association between age and empowerment is statistically significant. Now I'm showing you how to draw the inference. This is the challenging part for anybody, any scholar, anywhere in the world, any researcher, even a professor. So how do we infer? That means what is hidden in this table, what is hidden in the interpretation. From this table, it can be inferred that the younger people perceived that they are more empowered than the older people, and the chi-square value also supports such inference. Could you make it out? As you're interpreting, could you make it out? Or from this table, can you make out? See here, the younger people are 51% more empowered than anybody else. Here you can see anybody else. The larger numbers are concentrated for older people in less or moderate, whereas only for the youngest group, the majority is in this concentration. That is what we call hidden in this table. Not blindly seeing, because if you are not able to see what others are not able to see, you are not suitable for data analysis or data analytics profession. Managers, corporate executives, they are not able to see that. That's why they outsource this kind of work to data analysts. So data analyst's job is to find out what is that others are not able to see, and that's what we call the inference. And I'm sure it's a matter of practice. If you practice it after some time, you will definitely emerge as an expert. And I'm sure everybody should be aspiring for data analyst or data analytics approach to any profession that there is resort to. Any specialization, you're a marketer, finance, HR, operations, anybody, you adopt data analytics approach, you're going to have a much brighter career in this recession. I told you repeatedly so many times from first trimester, in economic recession, still companies need people, though there may be very scanty job opportunities, but corporations still need people. So unless you're recession proof, do you remember the sentence I made so many times in the last 1 year? Unless you're recession proof, you'll never get a job. So if you want to be recession proof, you have to be an expert. You must emerge as an expert. The corporate executive should identify something which is different in you. So if you're able to see things which others are not able to see, you are different. So let's conclude. In the conclusion, it could be stated that age and empowerment are significantly associated. In other words, empowerment depends very much on age of the respondents. So with that, I conclude this. So with that, we conclude this slide on interpretation and how to write an assignment. I'm closing this file, and then let's move on very quickly to how to write dissertation. That's our actual focus for today. How to write dissertation. So this is a file which I prepared, slightly modified it subsequently, but prepared in the year 96, 97, I guess, that period of time while I was working in a hospital. So how to write a thesis or how to write a project report, how to write a dissertation, you can name anything as you want. Now, I modified all of this. I changed my previous company's name and I inserted my current name. Now, this is how you would move. Now, in your main report, you would start like this. Chapter 1, which is headed as Introduction. So, in chapter 1, you have to mention all these things. Brief overview of the topic in just 3 lines. And then brief overview of the organization where you have studied, any company that you had studied in case of your internship. So you can mention the company's name, then what is its mission, vision, cultures, values, its work processes, and so on. Then talk about the background of and aspects of the problem under study. Conflict and satisfaction is my topic, so I'll talk about conflicts are on the rise today. Companies, because employees' participation is increasing manifold, multifold today, and then women's participation in occupations has increased beyond 40%. Because earlier 30 years ago it was only 10%, 20%, but today it is 40%, and very soon you would see that participation by women would reach closer to 50%. So therefore there will be more conflicts. So that's how you have to explain what is called the background and the aspects of the problem. Then what is the purpose of the study? Why do you want to conduct this study? Explain the objectives. That's what statement of the problem, statement of hypothesis. Give the rationale for this study. What is your motivation to do this study? How do you justify that? Give reasons and explanations. Followed by definition of technical terms. For example, types of conflicts you have mentioned. 3 conflicts, 3 satisfactions. Define them one after the other. So 6 concepts, 6 technical terms have to be explained here. Then what is the scope of the study? You can say the scope of the study is confined to a particular region, a particular company, a particular group of samples, a particular group of people. So its scope of the study also includes only 3 type of conflicts. Fourth type is ignored. You can give so many explanations like that here. That is what we call the boundaries of the study. Scope of the study also means what are the boundaries of your research study. Now we move on to chapter 2. This is a very, very important chapter of all, called the review of literature. As I told you, this chapter provides an insight into where the various research works carried out by people elsewhere across the world. Then you have to arrange all of their material, cite their names, and arrange them chronologically. That means year after year. So if you take 5 years of research studies conducted on conflicts and satisfaction, let us say 20-25 studies. So 20-25 authors research works have to be presented in this chapter, followed by lastly a gist or abstract or summing up of all their studies. What is that you have understood from their studies? If you are quoting 25 research studies in this chapter, normally at PG level we expect minimum 25, 25 to 30, actually 25 to 50 also is okay. So but if you can quote 25 research studies in this chapter, I think it's a very good chapter. And what have you understood from those 25 is called summing up. And what are the gaps in those research? What is that they have ignored? What is that they couldn't do? What are the mistakes that they have done? All that you can mention it here. And therefore you say that since there are so many mistakes, so many gaps, so much of incomplete understanding of this topic, I am conducting my research. That's how you conclude it here. Now, chapter 3 is research design or research methodology. Talk about what are the various steps that you had followed in the research work. Narrate them so systematically, starting with what you call research design, type of design, sampling, methods adopted, sample size, then data collection, methods and tools of data collection, any measures or any standardized scales that you have adopted, their reliability coefficients, validity details. Then how did you process the data processing and analysis? Did you use online data collection or offline data collection? What is the code book, master sheet? How did you prepare? How did you enter them in Excel sheet or SPSS or PSPP? How did you process? What statistical tests that you had used? All that can be mentioned here in chapter 3. It's a very important chapter. Any mistakes that you commit in chapter 3 and the same from fourth chapter onwards, it's all gone case. So you have to ensure that chapter 3 is perfect in all respects. Now chapter 4, data analysis and interpretation. This chapter outlines the various tables, charts, statistical tests, and the graphs that you have used in your study. Mention all of them, present all of them, interpret them properly, right? You might present frequency tables, cross tables, or contingency tables, or matrices, followed by statistical tests, interpret them, and draw inferences. And then chapter 5 is all about discussions. So most of the inferences are brought here in chapter 5. So give an inference for each finding, each table, and give your explanations from the literature reviewed. If your finding is conflicts and satisfaction are associated, anybody else also found in their previous research? Quote them here. They also found like this for so and so finding. And what reasons did they give? You can also quote their reasons. And you can give your own reasons why conflicts and satisfaction are negatively related. Give your explanations here. So that's the way for every finding, every table finding must be discussed here. With that, we move on to this is the toughest part of research for any scholar, even for the experienced people. And then we move on to the last chapter called findings, implications, and conclusions. Implications also mean suggestions. So you have to very briefly summarize the entire study from introductory chapter. So I told you, remember, the summaries of each chapter can be brought into this section. So if you have 5 chapters so far, 5 summaries have to be brought here, one after the other. Then mention all the findings very briefly. Mention all the findings very briefly. That's important. So if we have 50 tables, 50 findings have to be presented. In most of our students' cases, I would have seen in the past that their number of tables and their number of findings mismatch. That's a clue I'm giving you anyway today. So followed by the suggestions that you make. So if there is any adverse finding, give a suggestion. What is that company people should do? What executives should do on such findings? So it's not necessary that 51 findings must be given 51 suggestions, but you can summarize the suggestions which are addressing all those 51 findings. But remember, your suggestions must be so carefully connected to the findings. Don't give useless suggestions. Some students give suggestions which are irrelevant to their findings. That's bad. So you have to practice it, you have to rehearse it, go through seniors reports, go through standard reports on internet, how they are suggesting. Then draw the conclusions. As I told you, it's the summary of each chapter becomes conclusion. And then bibliography. I've already told you how to present the bibliography or the references. Bibliography refers the books, journals that you had read but not quoted. References mean the books, journals that you have quoted in the main body of the project report. Now, how do you write it? APA style, I've already shown you that. Second name first name second, initials, year of publication in the brackets, title of the article, journal name, then volume number, issue number, page numbers. This is how it would go. For a book, if you're quoting a book title, book author, you say second name first name second, initials. Now you can see here I mentioned Chandra, Shekhar, Chandra, SF, et al. What does it mean? What is et al? Et al means it's a Latin word called others and others. So along with me, I think there is one more author or two more authors, I suppose. I think two more authors. So there are totally 3 authors. If you have 2 authors, you have to mention 2 names. If it's more than 2 authors, you could mention et al. Now in the brackets, you put the year of publication. And this is the book which I have published in the year 2006 called Creating Enduring Indian Corporations, Lessons, Models and Challenges Ahead, Hyderabad, Allied Publishers. Now, if I am the single author of a book, I will publish it uh, by removing et al. But if it is a chapter from a book, this is the way I would mention. I am only contributing to one chapter in the book, but the editor is somebody else. So I would mention it like this. Shekhar Chandra SF 2003 publication. Hume HRD in Hospitals in E.G. Parameswaran edited book titled Perspectives on HRD, New Delhi, and the publisher name is Neil Kamal. So that's how you would do it. And with that, we move on to the last component of the chapter thesis called appendix, questionnaire or interview schedule or observation schedule. So just take a copy paste of your entire interview schedule or questionnaire here and insert it. So with that, we finish off the demonstration. Now it's time to see how I have done it in my post graduation days. In fact, I have done, as I told you, three project reports during my PG time. So the first one, this was the first one, and I don't find the copy of this because it's eaten by the termites. But this is the project report which I have done during my first PG, that was in Master of Social Work with specialization in personnel management and industrial relations. The title of my project report was a study on problems of night shift workers at Hindustan Cables Limited, Hyderabad. Now it is a sick public sector under company, it's closed down. So this was submitted to the Usmani City under the supervision of my guide, Dr. D.K. Laldas. He was the principal of that time. And that's the name of the college, called College of Social Work, Red Hills, Hyderabad. Now this college is not there here in this region. It is dislocated from this region and now it is in Gachibowli. So this report I have missed. I am not finding it because it's eaten away by the termites, but I have preserved my MBA project report. So this is my MBA project report. Very quickly I would run through the pages. In my PG, I have done a research study on employee empowerment and organizational loyalty. That is my research area. Employee empowerment is independent variable, organizational loyalty is a dependent variable. So this was done under uh, guidance of one Mr. Dr. P. Anjaya. Actually, now he is a doctor. He's a training officer then. So under his supervision, I have done this project report. Now that's how my contents page would look like: declaration, acknowledgement, list of tables, and this is the way I laid out the contents. So introduction, you see that backgrounds also mentioned here: importance of empowerment, why empowering people, concept of empowerment, approaches to empowerment, and then my second variable called organizational loyalty, problems of Indian workforce, need for the study, then definition of terms, conceptualization means definition of terms, then objectives of the study. Then slowly I move design of the study, that is called research methodology, research design, study area, sampling, methods and tools of data collection, data processing and analysis, statistical tests used, duration of the study, limitations of the study, chapterization. All I have already explained to you in the previous slides. Unit, I think, part 2 of the slide. Then chapter 3 is data analysis and interpretation, or it is also called results and discussion. So there are three parts in my results: part A for empowerment, part B for loyalty, part C for relationships between both, and then last part is findings, implications and conclusion. Then you see that references, then appendix 1 into the schedule. So this is the way I would go: list of tables, declaration, then introduction. You can see this is the way I have written. Chapter 1, introduction. Main headings would always be in capitals, side headings would always be in running sentences. So this is how I've introduced the topic. It could go like that. Then importance of empowerment, then why empowering people, all side headings are very clearly mentioned. Concept of empowerment, you can see that in the entire body I have mentioned the authors names. Can you notice it? For example, here I have mentioned the author's name in the bracket. That is called quoting the author in the reference section. Now as you move slowly, you can see more author names. See here, there's another author, two authors names inside the main body. This is what I was referring to, references section. Now here you can see another author here. Here also you have one more author. Now you can see, if I'm quoting this, I am free from plagiarism. If you remove this author's name, this paragraph will be treated as a copied material. Of course, this is rewritten, not ditto. If you take ditto this paragraph from this gentleman, it is plagiarism problem. But you are rewriting in your own words after reading from that article, and then put his author's name because the idea comes from this author. That's why you're quoting him. So as you move, you can still see many more authors' names. You can see here Kunjar and Konangu. Then you have so many names here because I am borrowing ideas from others authors. How I can simply copy paste? That is called stealing, no? So that's why I am free from that blame now if I mention the authors' names like this. This is how scientifically you're also crediting these people, no? They worked very hard. How you can just ignore them without thanking them? So this is one way of acknowledging them, their hard work. See how many authors names I've quoted at PG level. I hardly find one or two authors names in our students project reports. They are thankless, I think, in that sense. So we must learn how to thank the authors because we have borrowed their material. You can see how many authors names I've quoted. Then it would go like this. This is my independent variable. Separately I'm mentioning it. So slowly we will move like this. So this is my dependent variable called organizational loyalty. So I'm quoting so many authors names. You can see in the brackets their years of publication also. Then every heading that I had mentioned in the contents page is covered here. You can see the definition of technical terms under the heading called conceptualization, empowerment, organizational. Two concepts I've used, so I've explained them. Then what are the objectives, what are the hypotheses, then research methodology. See, research design, how nicely I have mentioned the paragraph. Why did I use this design? And similarly, what is the study area? Followed by the sampling. See how carefully I have mentioned mm, the type of sampling. Then how did I select the universe, identified the universe. Then how did I select the type of respondents, and finally how did I choose my sample size. So this is how systematically, step by step, one by one, it has to be presented. Now this is the table where I am presenting all my profile, respondents profile, their age, their gender, marital status, qualifications, department to which they belong, services in years, promotions, monthly income, and so on. That's the way I'll interpret. This is interpretation actually, the profile table. You can see that more than 50% means majority of them, I would say. If it is 87%, I would say a large majority. Yeah, we have to mention. So methods and tool of data collection, I've used interview method, and the tool includes interview schedule. Then it has multiple parts, part A and B. So it part A is profile, part B includes empowerment scale developed by one author named Rao in the year 1962. So I've adopted somebody's scale, and then I've developed a scale to measure employer loyalty has been developed exclusively for this study. I have developed it. I have mentioned the alpha coefficient you can see here of that scale. Every scale's reliability details are mentioned here. So both scales are highly reliable. You can imagine at PG level one can do like this. I'm sure you can also do it. Data processing and analysis. I've used the software and then I've developed all of that. I mentioned it. Then what are the statistical tests used? Correlation I've used, chi-square I've used, correlation also. Coefficient of alpha, correlation and chi-square are used to test the hypothesis, the duration, the limitations of the study, then chapterization, how many chapters. That's it. We move on to the results chapter. In this, I would say all results are presented in parts, various parts. So three parts if you remember. Part A is profile and perceived empowerment. It would move like this. All these are on the tables. So then as you move forward, this is part B, profile and organizational loyalty. So I've shown how to measure loyalty, how to cross tabulate, and then chi-square tests were calculated for each of them. Then with that we move on to part C, relationship between empowerment and loyalty. So here I've shown the correlation coefficients of yielded between these variables. And that's how I concluded my table. I've just pictorially I've presented how those correlations are, and that's it. Findings and implications of the study. So you can see profile so systematically presented. Then part A of my results, you see each of them is one finding. So likewise you'll have many findings, as many tables, so many. Part B findings, part C finding. Then suggestions, how to suggest. You can see I've given suggestions very systematically like this. And then conclusion. So that's it. Now you can see how many authors I have referred in my body. I followed the same structure which I've suggested. First name, then initials, second name first, first name second, then year of publication, title of the article, journal name, volume number, issue number, page numbers. So perfectly. Now appendix 1 is my interview schedule. That's the standard of standardized skills that I've adopted. So that's my project report. And by the way, I got the university top rank for the research work that I had done in both cases. So that's it. I'm concluding my minimize it, close it. So I hope you have understood the entire process of doing research, right from ideation or problem formulation, selection of the topic until presentation of the report. I hope you will practice all these things because these are also important for a student at post graduation level. So I wish you all the best. With this, we come to the conclusion of the trimester.